All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome again. My name's Tony Biagni. I'm at the Wonder '09 conference. Actually, the conference just concluded with an amazing message from Efrem Smith. I'm jumping around. And see, you don't know what this means yet, but I can't wait to just start jumping around again because that was a lot of fun up there. God moved. Artists' hearts were filled. So thank you for that gift.
Yeah, and I burned like 20 calories.
Dude, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on a diet, but that doesn't even matter anymore because I'm going to go get some pizza right now because I worked it off. I worked it off. So the conference is over. Now I'm just going to go into, I've been to several conferences, as many of you, and here's what happens. You know how this goes. A conference is over, and everyone's like, yes, I'm going to go back. And I'm going to just, I can't wait to lead differently. I can't wait to love differently. I can't wait to go talk to my pastor about everything I've learned. And then Monday hits and the reality sets in and the memos start coming in and the voicemails need to be answered. And artists are going, wait a minute, okay, how do I do this? How can I talk to my pastor about this? Especially when the reality sets in that, you know, they weren't at this conference.
Yeah.
And they didn't hear and they weren't inspired the way I was. What's the best way for an artist to maybe approach this in a different way so that they can continue the momentum that was gained, that they gained through this conference?
Yeah, well, you know, besides have your pastor watch the DVD, besides that part, I would say—
Step one.
Yeah, that's step one.
I like
but
that.
Step two, I just think getting your pastor out of the office, maybe at a coffee shop, someplace where you can really just share your heart on why you feel so passionate about sharing your artistic gifts to advance the kingdom. That I know one of the things that really impacted me was not only hanging out with the artists in my congregation, because sometimes as a pastor, you can get so caught up in meeting with your elder board, meeting with other associate pastors, that it just becomes so institutional and so rigid that you forget about like the freedom and the reciprocal blessing of being a pastor in an arts community. So I would really encourage you to get your pastor out of their office, out of the church building, and share your passion and heart, but then invite them to stuff. Like I had hip hop artists in my church invite me to a hip hop festival, a forum on hip hop and spirituality, hip hop and politics. And so, because that's my cultural context. And so I just think whatever you can do to help your pastor get out of the office, get out of the building, and get in the arts community, not just to share your passion, but I think it will be a tremendous blessing to your pastor.
Well, and I think that points so clearly to what you were saying and what Dan and Chip Heath actually said earlier today. It's all about, if we're artists, and if we're here to tell this amazing story, it starts with sitting down with these people that are leading you and influencing you and telling your story of this is why this means, this is why this matters, this is what it means to me. So getting back to that simple nature of go have coffee with them, talk to them, share your story, share the passion that's in your heart to influence the arts in a number of different ways. So that's a great
And
tip.
any way that you can tie it into the vision and the mission and the core values of the church. I mean, our church at the Sanctuary, our vision is a reconciling movement. Well, some of the artists had to show me was, well, Efrem, hey, you got to look, every major reconciling, liberating social movement had arts in it. I mean, it had song, it had spoken word. I mean, so, you know, freedom songs were a big part of the civil rights movement, for instance. And so reminding pastors on how art and in all of its diverse forms have been so pivotal in social transformation, in life transformation, and say, and my heart is to use the gifts God has given me to help us in our mission and core values and purpose.
Perfect. This is a quick, I don't want to turn this into a therapy session, but one thing that I loved what you said was so many artists out there, create art out of brokenness, and there's a value there. I know that there's a value of honesty there, but I know so many artists that just stop there. Yeah. They just stop at I'm going to create out of brokenness. And it's like, no, what was it like to think about what it's like to create out of feeling that you are the beloved? Yeah. What can you, and again, I know therapy session, this could, you could give 10 more messages on something on this, but what would you say to an artist who's going, I so want to get there. I want my art to do that.
Yeah.
What's that next step for them to go from brokenness to being one of the beloved?
Yeah, well, I think it starts with acknowledging the brokenness, even to acknowledge it to the point to say it is okay. And when we look at like the history of spirituals and the blues, even aspects of rock and roll, folk music, there's this history in our nation of music out of brokenness, out of slavery, out of dealing with coming to our nation as an immigrant and trying to build life again. And so those folk songs, the blues, the spirituals, that's cool. So acknowledge it, but then say, how do we also express ourselves artistically that in a way that brings belovedness, redemption, a solution? I mean, you know, in my context in hip hop culture, the problem is that mainstream rap music has taken brokenness and actually glorified it. So taking broken family or broken value systems around how to treat women, and now that gets glorified in an industry versus what we try to do at our ministry is say, how can we equip and empower hip hop artists to use those same artistic elements and talk about solving conflict without violence, or how to rethink how we treat women. And so I think all of us as artists have to think about how can we express art in a way that brings healing, brings solution, and actually says we acknowledge the brokenness, but there's an answer.
Thank you for that. That's great. And again, thank you to everyone who's watching these. Keep checking all the ones out, and just thanks again, Efrem. I really appreciate
thank you, brother.
coming here. And,
thank you. God bless y'all.
All right, take care.